Welcome back to my channel YouTube. It's TSB here, and welcome to my first video. So the other video that I posted is a video of me doing a quarter of the Four Horsemen Burger Challenge. So I thought this would be a good chance to talk about the experience, talk about pain, kind of non-clinically my experience of the pain. So to give some context, I'm a person who likes spicy food. So I get jalapenos on most of the things that I eat. I love serrano, habanero peppers, and so this is kind of it's not a normal thing for me to do something like this hot. But I have had a desire in the past to do like the Pocky One Chip Challenge. While I was deployed, I really wanted to do it, but Pocky had run out of the Carolina Reaper chips. I think that's what they were. So I didn't get a chance to do that. But I came back from deployment, and some of the guys were talking about this burger that was on the Food Network. I think it was Man vs. Food, as one of the hottest burgers in the world. And you know, as a red-blooded guy, I was thinking, hey, that sounds like something I could do. I'd want to do. So somebody mentioned it, and they said they would try it, and I said, hey, you know, I'll do it with you. And so eventually we decided that, hey, we're going to do it. So we decided to do it on a Friday. So there were some other friends of ours who had done the challenge, and they said that you probably want to do it before the weekend because it has a tendency to have lasting effects. So they had some stomach issues through the weekend. So I definitely wanted to do it right for the weekend. So we chose a Friday to do it, and during the day was probably not the best idea, but that's when we decided to do it. So around Friday at lunchtime, we decided to cut into corners because I watched that video of the guy from Man vs. Food, and he had some problems with it. And so I didn't necessarily want to eat the whole burger because I heard that it's pretty rough. And so we decided to do quarters. So four of us decided to split up the burger and try it. And it was one of the toughest, I don't know if I want to say worst, but it was a rough experience. So I kind of break it up into three phases. So the first phase was eating the burger. Second phase was digestion, so having that hot as I don't know what burger in my stomach. And then the third phase was exfiltration, so getting that thing out of my system. And so different phases, I'm going to rank them in terms of how bad they were. I'd say the worst phase was inside the stomach. That was by far the worst phase, was it just sitting in my stomach. The second worst phase was eating it, and surprisingly, the third phase of exfiltration, getting that out of my system, was actually not one of the worst phases. Actually, wasn't too terribly bad. But as you can see from the video that's already posted, eating it was a little rough. So I didn't really have a plan going into it. I just kind of figured, you know, it wouldn't be too bad, so I'll just eat it. So the portion of the plan that I did have was to kind of just get it down as quickly as possible. So I didn't want it in my mouth for very long. I really wanted to just get it swallowed as quickly as possible. But it was a big burger. It's a big, juicy burger with a lot of sauce on it. And so I took too big a bite. That was probably the first mistake I made. Took too big a bite, and I had a lot of it sitting in my mouth for a long time and a little bit in my throat. And so that it burned. It kind of just simmered there. The heat from it simmered, it built in my mouth, in my throat, because I held there for so long. And that was pretty rough. So I think, like you're saying during the video, it was burning my throat, and breathing through your mouth was extremely painful. It's one of those things where you see people do the challenge, like you see people eat that ghost chili pepper, or they eat the Carolina Reaper on YouTube, and you think, you know, they're acting like that. It can't be that bad. That's what I was thinking. And my friends told me that, you know, eating that burger was rough, and you kind of never believe them, but it was just as bad as they had said. So eating it, you know, it was burning on the way down, and I didn't really necessarily have a goal of not drinking milk for 5 minutes or anything like that. So I did drink milk, I think around 3 minutes in. But from the moment I started eating it, I don't think I let it show too terribly much. It's there on my face a little bit, but it was extremely painful. Funny thing is, it's actually a good tasting burger. I'm not saying I would recommend you eating it unless you want to do the challenge or feel the pain. But the burger tastes pretty good. But probably the first few seconds, it was excruciatingly painful. So uh, when I was sitting there, I think one of the things I wanted to do was just kind of deal with and sit with the pain because I knew it was going to be there. I knew it was going to be something that was unavoidable. So I wanted to kind of sit there with it and just see how I was able to deal with it. And so I was able to deal with it pretty well for the first few minutes. So I sat there with it, and pretty soon I started to just sweat. And as you can see, as the video goes on further, my entire body is sweating, and I'm just dripping with sweat. And so I drank the milk, and the milk helped. I probably should have spit the milk out. I probably shouldn't have drank it. But the milk helped a good bit with the burning in my mouth. And I want to say that probably an hour or so after I ate it, I was doing pretty well. But then later on is when we moved to the worst phase. So eating it was bad. It was really bad. The pain was probably an 8 out of 10 on a pain scale. Like, I've had a lot of pain in my life, a lot of physical pain. You know, I played football in college, and I've had a lot of different types of surgeries and pain from those different types of things, injuries. But this was a unique pain, and it probably ranks in the top 3 pain experiences that I've had in my lifetime. So the pain was pretty bad, but when it was in my stomach, it wasn't until probably, I want to say, 5 to 6 hours later, probably around 5 hours later, when the pain really got really real. So I was driving home from work, and I was probably about 5 to 10 minutes from the house, and it hit me. I was driving, and it was a wave of unbelievable pain, and I had this feeling like I needed to vomit. So a couple of the other guys who ate the burger with me, one of them had already vomited. So he probably vomited 45 minutes after we did the challenge. And so he kind of got most of it out of the system. I was the only person who actually ate the whole burger and kept it down. So I had a little bit of a different experience than the rest of them. One of the guys took like 2 bites and then he quit. Another guy did a quarter of a burger and he quit. The other guy ate the whole burger, or ate the whole quarter, but then he vomited it up. So I ate it, I kept it down, and so I'm driving home, and this wave hits me, and I just start sweating again profusely, even more than I was sweating during the video. And I had this strong feeling like I need to throw up. And so I'm like looking around as I'm driving. I'm like, okay, I need to throw up. Should I throw up out the window? But I was like, if I throw up out the window, I don't think that I can stay on the road and not have a car wreck. And I was like, okay, well, I might just throw up on myself because it hurt so bad and it made me want to vomit. So I was like, okay, I could throw up on myself. That I probably could stay on the road and not have a car accident. But I kind of didn't want to clean it up. That'd be pretty nasty. Clean up that hot, burning vomit out of my car. And so I was kind of deliberating while I was driving. I was like, oh my gosh, I am going to have a car accident. I'm going to have a wreck. And so somehow, by the grace of God, I don't know how, but I made it home. And I got into the house. And right when I got home, is funny, is when that wave of pain finished. And so the wave of pain finished, I got into the house, and I was doing all right. At one point, I was thinking about going to the gym, but I was not going to the gym because I knew it wasn't over. So I had planned to play some video games, just kind of relax and see how bad it was going to get for the rest of the day, for the weekend. So I planned to come play some Destiny. And I actually I turned on Destiny, and then before I got to play, I had another wave started to hit me, and I thought I had to go to the bathroom, do number two. So I went to the bathroom, do number two, but I couldn't go because the pain had actually, like, I don't know how it did this, but it made me feel like I could not go to the bathroom. So I sat there for a while, couldn't do it. So I got off, and then the wave just intensified, and I felt like I was crippled. So I was on the ground. One of the guys told me that when he did the challenge, he felt like he had to go to the hospital, to emergency room at one point, and I didn't think that was the case. I didn't think it was really going to be that bad. But this was the point where I thought I legitimately needed to go to the hospital. I was on the ground, doubled over in pain. So I don't think I mentioned this, but that burger, if you haven't seen the Man vs. Food video, it has jalapenos on it, has serrano pepper, has habanero, ghost chili pepper on it, the sauce. And so it's all of these that they're kind of building off each other, and they make this sauce out of it, and they have actual jalapenos on the burger. But I was doubled over. I was so hot on the inside. It felt like the sun was inside of my stomach, like it was burning, shining out of me, and my insides were being eaten away. And I kind of thought, part of me thought I was gonna die. Part of me thought that I needed to go to the emergency room, but I knew I couldn't drive, and my wife wasn't here, so I knew I was gonna be just sitting here. So I was basically on the ground in the bathroom, just laying there, trying not to move, because every time I moved, it hurt even more. So luckily I had my phone with me, so I calls the wife up and I tell her she's about to go to the gym, but I told her, it's like, I need you to come and bring me some Pepto-Bismol, just something that can coat my stomach and maybe help with this. And so, and I'm being kind of rude on the phone because I she's like, she's upset that she's probably not gonna go to the gym now, but I'm in so much pain that I don't care. So it was interesting because this level of pain, it caused me to I wasn't able to be as mindful as I was able to earlier on during the ingestion portion of the eating. And so I think that's part of the reason why I was a little ruder. Um, and I'm usually pretty able to deal with pain, but that's something that I think is really important, is that when it comes to pain, whether it be physical, emotional, we all have our limits. We all have places where there's so much pain that we have a lot of difficulty managing ourselves. We have difficulties coping with it. And even with those difficulties coping with it, we still have more abilities to, overcome than we typically think we do. Because even though I was in that much pain, I was still able to do some things that, um, even though it was hard to think about planning for and engaging in tasks and behaviors, I still could do those things. And ultimately, I realized that it was a choice, even when I was in that pain, to not be as polite to my wife as I could have been. So I was thinking about those things, not in the moment, but afterwards, because in the moment, I was just trying to balance, and I actually did think about the fact that I was rude, and I was kind of irritated that she was irritated at me for needing help, because I rarely ask for or need help. But I remember that part, and I felt like I was crippled at that point. I wanted to go to the emergency room, but that was probably the worst wave. I think during the rest of the night there were a couple more waves. They weren't as bad as that one when I was just doubled over and pretty much immobile. But that was a pretty bad phase. And the last phase, getting it out of the system wasn't too terrible, and that was only like the next day. But when we're thinking about pain, a lot of times people turn pain into suffering. So one thing that I talk about is that pain is inevitable in life. Suffering is not something that's inevitable, and suffering has more to do with our relationship to the pain rather than the pain itself. So everybody is going to experience pain during their life, whether it be physical, emotional. It's kind of a part of life. And one thing that gets people in trouble is when they approach life in a way that they're thinking that they shouldn't be experiencing any types of pain. So that oftentimes sets them up for a world where they're more likely to experience suffering, because when they do experience pain, they start to have a perspective on it that is not very adaptive for them. They're thinking that, this shouldn't be happening to me. This will never end. This is the worst thing ever. And it may not be a good thing. Pain, some people like pain, not me, but pain is something that typically is temporary. When it's not temporary, when it's something chronic, that's a whole different story, and we can talk about that another time. But our relationship, our stance when it comes to pain is something that's incredibly important. And so part of it is about being insightful, looking at yourself and thinking about, what is my perspective? How do I think about pain? Is this something that I think that I should never experience? Is this something that I have experienced, I'm accustomed to, and I have some level of being okay with pain? But if you want to have more of a discussion about pain, leave comments down below. I'll read the comments and I'll respond, and we can talk more about pain, coping with pain, dealing with pain, improving pain. But hopefully you enjoyed this in the other video, and hopefully we can make your tomorrow better than today. Until next time, it's TSP out.